So let me ask you, John, before I get into the big three, which is Candy, Electric Angels, and the Loveless, because they all sort of seemingly slide into each other. Were there any bands before that 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 you sort of grinded your teeth and cut your chops on and all that kind of stuff?
Well, yeah, just for geographical ideas, if people are familiar with LAX, Torrance is about 10 miles, not even 10 miles south of it, down along the beach. So there's Torrance, there's Redondo Beach, there's Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, Palos Verdes, beautiful area. But I'm in Torrance, and there's not a lot going on in Torrance. I was playing in like a top 40 band that was just god awful, like 78, 79. Then at some party, and I don't think I've ever told anybody this.
Here we go.
I met two guys, and they asked me to join their band. And I said, okay. The two guys were Skid Rose, who I knew him as Chris Rose, and Johnny Love, who would eventually go on to be in Love
Hate. Yeah, of course, with Jizzy Pearl as the lead vocalist. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know any of those guys. In fact, we were a five-piece. We had a girl sharing vocals with John and another guy on keyboards. And I don't even know how to describe the band. It was all over the place. But I do remember I was rehearsing with them the night John Lennon died. And this coming up on 40 years in a week or something like that. The girl came running into the studio, like crying. She goes, John Lennon's just been shot. We all ran out to our cars, turned on KLOS, and waiting for the news and stuff like that. And then, the news came later on. We played one gig with that band about a week later. And then the next day they go, yeah, I don't think this is working out. And I'm like, all right. But then, as all beautiful things are meant to be, 2 months later, almost to the day, I meet Jonathan. And that also came about from just being in Torrance. You can probably remember when you were a kid. You remember the record chain, The Warehouse?
Yeah, The Warehouse Records and Tapes. Yes, they used to call it.
It was records, tapes, and funky junk when they first started, because they used to sell bongs and stuff like that. So I'm working at The Warehouse in Torrance, and I'm working there for about 2 years or something like that. And this guy comes in one day. It was January 1981. I can't remember the exact date. Sorry about that, but January 1981.
As you can see, folks, he is the historian of rock. You don't have to know the date. It was just in January. That's close enough.
Yeah, the date bothers me because this guy Gordon is to this day he's my best friend. So this is almost 40 years ago. He comes into the store because his girlfriend, he'd moved out from Connecticut. His girlfriend was already in Torrance working at the record store. So he comes to visit her because he just moved out here. And he says to me, he goes, I'm coming out here looking to find a band. You got any ideas? And I go, well, you're not going to find anything in Torrance. So go up to LA, get the recycler, look in some ads, and good luck, like that. And so a couple weeks later, he phones me up and he says, hey, remember me? I'm that guy that came in the store. I go, yeah. And he goes, I found an ad, bassist and singer looking for a guitar player and drummer. And I go, all right, let's check it out. Now, I don't really know this guy from anything. I've just met him, but we answered the ad. And here's my history. Sunday, February 15, 1981. Wow. Me and Gordon, who have just met, go meet Jonathan and this English singer named Richard Rishi, who had this red Ziggy Stardust hair. And
not unlike the back of your photo right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And we play a few songs, and I'm looking at Jonathan. I'm like going, dude, you wrote these songs? Like, these are really good. So we stayed together for about 6 weeks or something like that, played our first gig at the club that would become Club Lingerie. It wasn't even then Club Lingerie then.
In Los Angeles.
And then the next day, Jonathan calls up and goes, yeah, I don't think this is happening. So, all right.
Wow, there's a history of this. I don't think this is happening early on.
So I didn't really know Gordon other than this guy I met in a record store that turned me onto this band. We practiced, we played a gig, and then everybody is kind of like, well, I guess that's not going to work out. We all go our own ways. But sometime in the next few weeks, Jonathan called me up and said, hey, I got a couple other guys. You want to try having another go at it. And I'm like, all right, sure. And over the summer of 81, what would become Candy kind of starts to fall into place. And then he calls up his friend Kyle from Berkeley to come down and try
that would
out.
be Kyle Vincent. Yeah. We're talking about Jonathan Daniel, the principal songwriter in each of the big three that we're talking about with John Schubert's careers, whether it was Candy, Electric Angels, or the Loveless, and possibly some more bands as well that we haven't found out yet. But we are here with John Schubert, and just catching up a little bit on the history and the origin of Candy, because I did not know that. I always assumed that Gordon, your best friend, was in Candy as well, but he was, and Gilby was also in on the band, which Gilby Clarke, folks, from you might know him from a small band called Guns N' Roses. But I always figured that you guys were playing together as a five piece, and then somehow Gordon got Pete bested out of that group, but I'm not sure how that all entailed. Or did Gordon leave and Gilby came in, or how did that end up working? And what is, because you already have Kyle Vincent, who's the lead singer of Candy at that point, Jonathan Daniel, yourself. How does Gilby Clarke come into the picture?
Well, I would want to ever consider Gordon being Pete bested. I think we were all we might have all been kind of Pete bested. I mean, clearly Jonathan is the guy with the idea here, and he's writing all the song, and he's the guy who put the ad out. So we kind of came to him. You know, it's like he wasn't lording over the band, but you know, clearly he's the guy who's got the idea here.
There they are, folks. That would be that would be the version. So again, Gilby Clarke comes into the picture some way, somehow. Again, not from Los Angeles. He comes in, some kid from Ohio, right?
Yeah, Cleveland. You know, and he had been in LA since he was
a couple years.
Yeah, for a while.
Okay.
Well, it's funny because so over the summer, Jonathan calls me back up, and the idea is going to be me on drums, Jonathan singing, and you remember Josh Fields on bass. And
yes, I played in the band with Josh Fields called The Unbelievable Truth. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then Jeff Rex was on guitar. So these are Jeff and Josh know each other from high school. Jonathan's going to sing. We tried this out for a little while, and we even tried auditioning guitar players. And Gilby actually came down. This is summer of 1981, and he looked great. He sounded great. For whatever reason, we just said, no, let's just go with Jeff. And then, you know, like later on we go, remember that guy from last summer, you know, with the leopard
Give him
coat?
a call back.
Yeah. So Josh just said, yeah, this isn't for me. And he took off. Jonathan went back on bass. Let's call Kyle. Kyle comes down from Berkeley, moves down, and here's another date. On August the 1st, 1981, the same day MTV goes on the air, the three of us all move into an apartment on right off the Sunset Strip by Tower Records. $600 for a 2-bedroom apartment in West Hollywood. So that's the beginning of that's the
deal, folks. That's an amazing deal.
Yeah. That's the day I met Kyle. Is the day he showed up from Berkeley with his car and full of stuff and his cat. You know, it's like, hey, okay, nice to meet you. And later that night, we all went to see Motley Crue at the Troubadour. It's like, welcome to LA, Kyle. Let's go check out what's going on here. And, you know, Motley Crue had their light boxes on the Troubadour stage and everything. So that's how it all comes. And so we play around with Jeff as our guitarist for about 6 months before that's not working out. And then we give Gilby the call. And in April of 82 or May or something like that, Gilby comes back into the fold. And that's the lineup that stuck.
That's that picture that Vic just put up of the whole entire band right there. Yeah. And as you can see, folks, at that point, you look at that picture and you think, man, why isn't Ryan Roxie in that band? Because at that point, you know, before I used to wear beanies all the time, I had that exact haircut, and it was that same style. It was the same brand of black azure hair dye that I think we all used. It was this. It was the same Aquanet that I think everyone was endorsed with back in those days. There's another early picture of the band as well. And somehow during that mix, again, going back to that black and white photo, you think instantly pop band, but you're not, because you have a harder edge. And that was always the beauty of Candy, is that everyone always respected the pop mentality of Candy, but there was always this sort of greasy, sleazy rock and roll vibe to them as well. So no one could say, "Hey, you're as cute as the." Wow, that's Angeline, folks. If you know anything about Hollywood and pink Corvettes, that is Angeline when she was only, I think she's like 68 years old then. So that's she was in her younger years, and she might still be driving around in that pink Corvette. Have you seen Angeline lately?
I haven't, but I want to say that they were making a movie, because I saw stills from the actress who was I can't think of her name right now, who was dressed up as Angeline, and then somebody
Should
found
be
a picture.
Margot Robbie. She would be great at it, I think.
That might be. I'm not sure, and I don't know what it was for, but Angeline was the original famous for being famous person. For all
exactly, that's everybody here in Stockholm. So here's the thing: Candy somehow involves itself in that first sort of wave of metal, and somehow you're lumped in together with bands like Wafts, Motley Crue, Rat, and how did that all work out as far as playing the gigs? Why was it? Because you guys had a extreme female following that the more heavier metal bands would hire you, or how did that work out, and how'd you fit into that scene?
Well, real easy formula right there. We brought the girls, and the guys go to the shows where the girls are. So, and I can't really remember all the ultimate details of it all, but I don't ever remember having any hostile response from audiences. Not really. And part of that is twofold. I think we played the Troubadour with Great White. We played with Black and Blue. We played an early gig before Gilby with Rat at some club in the OC. But I don't remember any hostile things because we were loud. Maybe that was part of it. But also, by the time we got off as the opening act, our kind of crowd would leave, and then the other ones would come in. So there wasn't like bottle fights or fist fights or anything like that. It just wasn't like that. Heads in a club are heads in a club. Everybody's welcome, and they always were. And I think lots of times our crowd would probably leave, and then Great White's crowd would come in, or whatever it happened to be.
But for some reason, I feel that Candy has this nostalgia. It has this credibility vibe of being a pop rock band sort of surrounded in a scene of heavier music. And that's another great shot of the band as well. Before I was in the band, are there any shots of me in the band, Mr. Vic? Or we're getting to that? Okay, we're getting to that. So I first want to talk about the album that was made, called Signed by Polygram Records. Things obviously look up. You get signed by Polygram. You make an album called Whatever Happened to Fun. The producer Jimmy Einer, who I always confused with Jimmy Iovine. For years and years, but Jimmy Einer, and some people just call him Teeth. I have no reason why that, but you have to understand.
Set of teeth, yeah.
Oh, he's got a big set of choppers.
Yeah, big chop.
Okay. Well, there you go. Big choppers, sort of Matt Dillon style in Something About Mary, I guess. But this is the same producer that's produced bands like Bay City Rollers, the Raspberries. He also did Three Dog Night. And I'm not sure if you even know this, he actually produced the Dirty Dancing soundtrack. That was Jimmy Einer. But there it is. That was the album cover of Whatever Happened to Fun, Candy, right there. We put that up real quick. And how was that whole experience working with Jimmy Einer?
It was interesting.
Okay.
Well,
that's politically correct.
Let me go back a ways. I don't really remember how we got to anybody's notice, because we've been knocking around LA for 3 years. But for whatever reason, we came to notice of the management company of Kiss, which was Howard Marks. on Madison Avenue. They were managing Kiss at the time. Kiss was signed to Polygram Mercury, and because Kiss might have, and they were doing well. This is Lick It Up, Time, Animalize. What's the I Love It Loud? Creatures of the Night or something like that.
Yeah. Eric Carver era as well.
So we come to notice of the Howard Marks agency, and because he is with Kiss and Kiss is with Polygram, the A&R guy from Polygram starts coming around, and that was Jerry Jaffe. And so we got the deal with Mercury, Polygram, but Jerry signed us. And, I can't say that it was just a favor to Howard because Kiss is on the label, but either way, we get a record deal after a lot of years of playing around the clubs. And then we start going, who do you want to produce? And we ran down a couple lists, but Jimmy was right up there. And the thing that he had done right before us was, God, I know he did this. Frankie and the Knockouts, if you remember that band, he did Frankie.
I do remember that band. Yeah.
The drummer would eventually go into Bon Jovi's band. Oh, yeah. And by the way, Jerry had signed Bon Jovi as well. So,
folks, and Jerry Jaffe is a very important figure in our careers because Jerry Jaffe, who signed Candy, again, ends up managing Electric Angels a little bit later down the road. So that whole thing of people that you're jamming with now, people that you're working with now will probably lead you and help you with your next shift of your career. It holds true again. And that's why John Schubert is telling us about all this history of Candy leading up to the point where you've made this record, Whatever Happened to Fun. You went on tour. And this is the stuff that kills me because you made this great video, folks. I'm not sure if we have a little clip, Vic, of Whatever Happened to Fun, but if you want to put that up right now. Oh, Vic is shaking his head. No. I'd love to do this to Vic. But it's a great video, Whatever Happened to Fun. They go on this huge tour. I think you did Rick Springfield tour. Am I correct with that? You did Rick Springfield. You did Corey Hart. I wear my sunglasses at night. You do all these big tours with screaming fans, and then I get to join the band afterwards, and we do none of that for a while because how did we meet, and how did that demise of those two tours? Things changed obviously when you got off the road.
It both of them. Well, the Rick Springfield was literally somebody must have canceled, and we had a friend at CAA who just called us up. Can you guys be in Cedar Rapids, Iowa tomorrow? I was like, why? Rick Springfield. Yes, we can. It was the band Till Tuesday. Amy Mann got sick. Somebody at Creative Artists just said, let me get these guys. They have a new album out. It hadn't come out yet, actually, but it was about to. So we're in Cedar Rapids the next night. And I've said this, I wrote it on the Facebook page for Candy. Literally, this is what happens. The lights go down. Ladies and gentlemen, Till Tuesday will not be performing tonight from Los Angeles. Here's Candy. And then the lights come on. And now I don't know how many kids were there to see Till Tuesday, but I thought it was a great show. Rick was playing about 7,000 seaters. So like college basketball arenas, but they were great. For us, it was just like, oh my God, look at all these people. But we did the best we could. We did a couple of shows with him, and then he got sick, and we just went back to LA. And then the album came out. And it wasn't until about another month that Corey Hart's people called us up, because we had actually filled in for a sick Corey Hart with Rick Springfield about a year earlier. So for whatever reasons, we got the tour. But it was really weird. It was like the first show was in Miami. We fly to Miami. We do Miami, Orlando, something else, Tampa maybe, or something like that. And then they go, all right, thanks, bye. Okay, fly back to LA. Then they go, can you be in Atlanta tomorrow or whatever it was? And we just kept doing this little piecemeal thing until they finally said, you know what? Why don't you just stay on the road with us? And we're like, that might be a good idea, because we just kept flying back and forth between LA and all these other little cities. But once that happened, then we ended up doing the whole country with him. Except Los Angeles, oddly. But
Hello folks, Roxie here. Thanks for watching the video. And if you liked it, hit the subscribe button or one of the videos around me to watch more. If you'd like to, please leave a comment. If you didn't like the video, maybe you'll forget how to type.